department stores. The biggest department store that ever had an effect on me was Hess Brothers in Allentown, Pennsylvania. When I was a kid and I walked into that store, I thought to myself, is this a palace? Because when I got older and I went into Saks Fifth Avenue in New York, I said, where's the crystal chandeliers? Where's the columns with the urns with the fresh flowers that are immense? And where's the imported exotic items that cost an arm and a leg that sit around on the counters? Saks Fifth Avenue was plain compared to Hess Brothers in Allentown. I think that Hess Brothers, Max Hess, that was one of, I don't know who the other brother was, invented the Black Friday, but not on Black Friday. Every month, at the end of the month, he had end of the month sale. And he would put some items in the paper like suitcases for $1, TV for $5, and all kinds of stuff. And then in the store, he had great big tables in each department where he would just throw merchandise on it. And it was cheap. And my mother went all the time. The whole neighborhood went. And we only had one car. Mostly all women only had one car. So they took the bus to Allentown. And they stood outside in line, waiting for the doors to open, just like they do, or used to do, for Black Fridays. And then all the women would dash in and grab whatever they could get. They brought it home. First item of business when my mother came home with the bags was hide the bags. And they were very distinctive with the Hess Brothers logo all over it. You had to hide the bags from my father. The second thing we had to do was try on. Now, if a pair of shoes was too small for me, my mother would get on the phone and call this neighbor or that neighbor who had a girl who was younger than me and see if she wanted to get those shoes. If the shoes were too big for me, that didn't matter because I'd grow into them. I had a lot of stuff I had to grow into. Now, the way my parents managed their money, my father had a really nice income. He had 2 jobs. He worked full-time at the Bethlehem Steel, and I believe he gave my mother the check. She cashed it, she bought the food, and she paid the bills. My father's money bought us vacations and cars and TV sets and that sort of thing. Well, you know how it is. Occasionally, there comes a bill that you weren't expecting, and you don't have the money, and my mother would have to ask my dad for more money. And that's when Hess Brothers would come up, and how she was spending his hard-earned money at Hess Brothers, and he would go, it was awful. But we lived through it. And I forgot where I was going with this. So that was our life, you know, and that was how my mother was. She wanted me to, you know, go to college and all that, but she knew that college, that's what she knew. She knew college cost money, and that's all she knew. And therefore, she pinched pennies, she hand-me-downs and big shoes and all that was fine. Now, this is the tale of 2 shoppers, and the other shopper is my mother-in-law. And I met my mother-in-law when I was 17, so she had a big influence on me too. My mother and my mother-in-law had 5 things in common. They were both first-generation Americans. They both had a parent die when they were in their teens. They both had only one sibling graduate from high school. Neither of them graduated from high school. And they both wanted their kids to go to college. Now, my mother was one of 11. 11. Her father died when she was 16. She had to quit school and go to work, contribute to the house. When her father died, he pretty much left all 11 children to fend for themselves. My mother met my father, and even to the day she died, there's a little piece of her that was poor. She would always frequent used clothing shops or hand-me-downs or find a bargain, and that was my mother. My mother-in-law was one of only 2 children. It was her mother who died when she was in high school. Well, her mother got sick when she was in high school, and my mother-in-law had to quit school to take care of her mother. Her younger sister went on to graduate from high school. She took a secretarial course. She got a job at the Bethlehem Steel, and she married a college graduate. Meanwhile, their father managed to buy a double home. One house divided down the middle. He rented out the other side, which was smart. And when his 2 daughters got married, they each got a house. Well, the younger sister, it wasn't long before she sold that half of a house and bought her own big house across town in the better part of town. What my mother wanted the most was security. She knew what it was like to be poor, and she wanted to hang on to her money and have security. What my mother-in-law wanted was status. And I don't say that in a bad way. Just because she had to quit school and didn't get, graduate and didn't get to go to nursing school like she wanted to, and just because she picked a man that did not go to college, did not mean that she had to walk around and look like a poor relation. When my mother-in-law went to Hess Brothers, she did not go to that end of the month sale. She went whenever she damn well felt like it, because she had a job, and she would go to the brand name clothing, the quality clothing. I don't know if any of you remember this, but she was very fond of Pendleton suits. They were 100% wool. She had one for every holiday. She had a red one. I don't know if she had a green one, but she had a navy blue and green plaid one. And she bought the blouse that matched. And she bought the shoes and the purses that matched. Her favorite brand at that time was Etienne Agnier. Well, and if you came to my house for a special occasion and you met my mother-in-law, you would never dream that she paid for all this sewing in a factory that made underwear. Because she didn't. She used her charge at Hess Brothers. And she had to deck out the rest of the family too. And I say this because I'm almost positive, although I never saw it in black and white, I know that her charge was at 4 digits, at least. And she never paid it off until she was in her 80s and her kids took control of her finances. And my husband says there were a lot of arguments at their house about how much money she spent at Hess's. But my husband and I were grateful to her because she taught us the proper way to dress. About wearing a suit and a tie and how a gentleman looks. And for me, most of her things that she taught me are no longer like you can't wear white after Labor Day. You can't wear white, black, or red to a wedding. And you go to a wedding, you have to wear white gloves. These are hers. So here's how it worked out. When my husband went to college, his suitcase was packed with all the right clothes so that he could fit in and have status. When I went to college, my mother bought me luggage. That was traditional, right? You got the little train case and the middle-sized one and then the great big thing. Mine were red. Different shades of red. Because one was an American Tourister, and one was a Samsonite, and one was something else. And my mother did not understand why I was upset. And she got them all at Hess's, probably for $1 a piece. So the end of the story is that both of these women contributed to my shopping mentality. When I go shopping, I like to buy the best, but it has to be on a really big sale.